good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Regenerate with Purpose, our podcast that is part of Regenera Travel Summit 2025, where we're looking to educate, inspire, and connect you to amazing people who are trying to make a positive legacy within the world that we live in. So, welcome everyone. And we are traveling to the Netherlands right now. Vienna, can you present our guests? We have Vienna and John with us, if you're familiar with our teammates. So, Vienna, I pass it over to you to present Marco and Victoria.
Thank you, Susan, for giving me the honor. Well, I would like to present Marco Rog from Circular Clarity. It's an NGO from the Netherlands, and we work together, well, in many ways, but besides being an advisor for Baloo Travel and helping us with all the circular economy side and making it a circular company, he's also helping us with a restoration project, waste management project in Miami, Thailand. And I would also like to present Victoria Tully, that is also part of the team. And well, she is also an expert in sustainability, circularity, regeneration. And well, they are both great persons. I'm very blessed to have them and to be able to work with them. I'm learning a lot from them. And yeah, now they can also present themselves.
Yes, hello, good morning, good evening. My name is Marco. I'm one of the co-founders of Circular Clarity. We started in 2019 already with my business partner Arjen, with let's say, a foundation of fundamental thinking that the way we operate our businesses in the world is only focused on the economic aspects, but not so much, or sometimes also neglecting the impact on social and ecological areas. So we have been developing strategies and programs to help businesses on the way to become a more circular company. But becoming circular is only one step. We think that we should work towards a more systematic change to become a regenerative society. That whatever we did as humans, we should try also as humans to make it better. And I think that is what we are doing every day for the businesses we are serving, but also for the ecosystem we have been developing around Circular Clarity, which is now consisting around 20 people, and Victoria is one of them.
Thanks, Marco. Yeah, so I'm Victoria. I work closely with Marco as part of Circular Clarity's ecosystem. And I really focus on the Jessie side of it, so the gender and social inclusion, which means really making sure that the human side is always brought in at the center of any kind of program or project we work on, while also keeping the environmental sustainability component.
Thank you very much. So, when we were getting to know each other, and we're going to invite our audience to go and check one of our other podcasts where we talked about circular economies with Caitlin Sockwell before. And we want to go one step further with you guys. One of the things that stood out in our introductory conversation was Marco talking about your transition from the business area you were in and making the conscious, intentional decision to do something better. And that was something that we talked about in the episode before with Caitlin. We talked about that intentionality, that inner development or that personal element as humans to want to do better. So I'd like to ask you to share a little bit about that decision, if it isn't too personal, about,
Oh, no.
that transition from the two worlds.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's absolutely not personal, because I would love to talk about that, because I think that should be inspiring a lot of people. Although I must say it's not easy, and you can only do that if you have the right people around you. So that's first and foremost, of course, my family, my wife and my children, but also the people around me who I can work with now. So it's not a change or a transition which will take place at once. it has, for me at least, a couple of years it took before I was aware that I was in a world which was not sustainable. That word I didn't know at that time, but later on I realized that I was basically, um, I was part of a system where it was not easy to escape from. I had a pretty good job. I was managing director of several companies serving the oil and gas industry on an international level. So I traveled a lot. I've seen a lot. I learned a lot. But it was always that the people were central to what I was doing. So building teams, building organizations. Um, After years, I start realizing that human component become much more under pressure, and that was something, which you cannot see at once, but it. I took that along my journey. Um, I must say that also my children were part of that, let's say, that process, because, and I'm talking now probably about 15 years ago, that especially my two daughters, I have three children, two daughters and a son, they came after dinner with a nice presentation about food industry and animals, etc., and they were asking, can we maybe eat some less meat? And I must say, I was a big meat eater. So, and I think we were talking about that at that time, and we started to eat less meat at home. Um, and at that time, it was like planting a seed also with me, that I became aware that what the impact is, in this case around food. And later on, I realized also, talking with people and reading and getting the experience, that if you are not aware, you cannot take action. So, and that is basically the key of what we are doing. So, making people aware to make those decisions. And for me, the big escape, how I always call it, was in 2018. I became 50 that year, and I was realizing, okay, this is not what I'm going to do for the next 15 years. And to be honest, I was able to step out of the business, and first took a little rest, and my oldest daughter took me to some people. And I first started my own business just as a strategic advisor, and later on I met my business partner, where we created Circular Clarity as a company with a foundation next to it, to help businesses, but also to inspire and teach people about what it is. What is your impact on? And that is what we are doing now every day.
Thank you
Amazing.
very much.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria, what about you, sweetie? How did you get involved in this? Definitely, we can see that we have an intergenerational conversation right now with everyone here on the podcast. So, what was it like for you in terms of getting involved in this?
Yeah, so my journey was a bit different. So my background started out as international and cultural studies. So I always had an interest of other languages, other cultures, and I actually served 2 years in the Peace Corps in the Comoros Islands, which is a very small set of islands near Madagascar and Mozambique. And that was kind of where I first started the journey of regenerative circularity, sustainability. As just walking around in the villages, you would see a bunch of waste everywhere, and you'd see it piling up in the oceans and it coming back onto the beaches and just kind of destroying the nature that was around. And there was a huge lack of both awareness and also of facilities and infrastructures to actually get rid of the waste. So that's when I started working with the community to try to come up with both an awareness campaign. There were some people in the community that were knew of the problem, others just kind of pushed it aside, but worked with them to raise awareness in the community, but also come up with solutions to be able to work with the waste. So that was things like the eco bricks or taking plastic bags and trying to sew them into mats. And we attempted also a little bit to do economic opportunities with that too, so that they could then turn it into a business so that they would also have financial stability. Maybe not as successful, but it was still an intro thing. You know, it takes many years to do this. You can't turn around and do it in a day. But the awareness campaign was a huge success, and the village got behind a lot of different ways to try to come up with alternative solutions so that they could reduce the waste. And so that kind of got me on this journey of, okay, so there is a gap of knowledge, but there's also people who are interested and want to actually do something, but also always making sure that you bring in the community component and the people who are actually directly impacted by it. Because if you just try to create a big, beautiful program, but the local voices were not discussed or considered, there's always some gaps or some issues that might occur. So that's kind of where my journey happened to come to. And then from there, did my master's, and then I ended up meeting Marco actually through a circularity course, and luckily stayed in touch that way. And that's kind of how we've developed further the relationship with regenerative and circularity, and trying to bring it more to the front.
Wow, I loved what you said about making part the community. We also touched this like this point with Caitlin. She also reinforced in this that it has to be like multi-sectorial, no? Type of involvement, so that it really has a good impact, and so that you can really make a difference. It cannot just only be the business, you know, we're not in islands, really. Well, we have islands here, but we're not really like working as an island, but we are working as an ecosystem, no? And like the government gives a base, let's say, and so they're part of this ecosystem, the government, the business, the local communities, the NGOs, you know, everyone has part on it, like different, they can give different things, no, to the project. But if we all give our part, I think it makes these projects more impactful. And I also loved what you were doing with the social entrepreneurship. I love, like, I've been like part of, well, John and I have been very involved with the tech startup community here in Latin America. We actually are part of the founders of the startup community in Honduras. And we have organized like startup weekends, hackathons, and fuck up nights, many other events to support entrepreneurship and bring also more technology, which we really need in this region. We need innovation and technology. So we have done it as volunteers, not for society, and to inspire, also to educate the youth and to help them, you know, come up with ideas, because we also think that it's good to give the tools to people to make their own income, no? So like the Bible says, no, like Jesus preached, like you have to teach the people how to fish, not give the fish, because if we give the fish to the people, then it causes like a burden on the economy. We cannot sustain it. So in order to make it sustainable, we have to, it is great to support the social entrepreneurship initiatives. And wow, I really loved how you said that you noticed this about the trash. It happened, it was like, wow, it's like she's describing what I've been witnessing lately, like here in the coast of Honduras. The same thing, like I go to the beaches, I see all this trash, and I say, wow, is people not aware of these? Like, why the government has abandoned these places? Like, and then I see the community, like, and they say, no, we're not throwing all this trash. It comes from the sea, no? And we clean part of it, but they cannot clean everything, no? Of course. So yeah, it's incredible.
So my question to Marco and Victoria right now would be, you know, we had this beautiful idea. We understood this in the podcast that we did with Caitlin, but I wanted to ask you guys about living circular clarity. What does that look like in a business? What does that look like at home? And I guess by extension, I guess how, what would that look like if we take it to education and school? So it's like business, home, and school. What is living circular clarity? What would it look like? I guess in your context, and we would probably take from that how we could probably, you know, adapt it to our context. But what does that look like? Living circular clarity. Marco? Or
Oh,
Victoria, whoever has
I think
whoever has a
Marco's
take on it
best
first.
position. I will feed back through it, but I think he has the core of it.
Okay.
yeah, I think it's Suzanne. This is a very good question, and I must say that since 2018, 2019, when we started this business, and of course, it was for me a huge shift. And let me be honest on that. I was working before 70, 80 hours internationally and etc. And it was also because of that to make that change, also to um, um, take care of myself in a better way. And in that journey, I've been studying a lot, to be honest, and been talking a lot, and we're still doing a lot of research ourselves. But I think living circular, living the way we look to things, it's also impacting a kind of comfort level. Let me put it that way. I'm coming from the Netherlands. I've lived a comfortable life because uh, uh, good education, I had a good job, we have a family, so it's a comfortable life. What I didn't realize is that that comfortable life will come with a price. Um, and I can now say that price is high. Um, and that's also what we take towards the businesses. So it's how I live it myself, also at home, but also towards the businesses. And one important thing which I would love to give also the audience, if you start talking about that, if you start talking about sustainability, circularity, even go to regenerative actions, is talking about those subjects, you can only do that in a safe environment. So when I start talking with businesses, which is normally on managing level, owners level, management teams, I have to create first a safe environment because you come with a topic which brings uncertainty in a business. And most of the businesses I know and I've been working in, they manage their businesses from um, let's
Revenue
say, a
first.
safe level, a standard level. They don't want those disruptions. And I think that is the key. The key of how to live circular is to do that in a safe environment, realizing, especially for me, and I'm talking about personally myself, living in the Netherlands, living a comfortable life, that living circular or to become more circular, it will impact my comfort, which is I accept. I have to. Otherwise, I cannot go on.
Wow.
Wow. We
Very
talked about inner development goals, in the last session when we discussed circularity with Caitlin. And I mean,
Yeah,
wow, Marco, you're just like bringing it right back that the true change starts with
yeah,
us, really and truly.
nice.
It's the personal decision we all
From
take to
within.
be that man in the mirror reference that Caitlin used with us, and what we can do on a personal level with our own personal discomfort.
yeah.
Wow. Thank
No,
you.
this is really true. And you talk about the IDGs, we have the SDGs.
Mm-hmm.
We also started 6 years ago with the SDGs, helping companies with which SDGs they can make impact. But after a time, I realized that those SDGs were, let me put it very bluntly, because I can do that, I'm a Dutch guy. They are abused. SDGs are abused by Western companies. So how much I can teach from a Western point of view to use the SDGs in helping and serving, let's say, the not the north part of the world, but the south part of the world, it's so difficult. So, and with the IDGs, which is how we are also using, I even can make a next step, which we researched very lately, also because of the summit which is upcoming, is there's recently a academic paper published around a paradigm shift around regeneration. And if you read that, then it comes very close in how we are helping and serving businesses from circular clarity. Because what does it say? Regeneration is seen as a radical transformation, a system transformation of our economic approach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we in circular clarity always talk about a multi-value approach. So it's not only the economic, but also social and ecological impact. And that's the other way of thinking. And you need to talk, train, and teach people around that and show examples that it can work.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, like when you were advising me that, wow, really opened my eyes when we had a meeting and you were explaining to me what is really an impact startup, and that impact businesses, they tend to like prioritize also the impact, no, you also have to measure the impact you're doing in nature and communities, and not only the profit. So maybe it will take longer to be a profitable business because you're focusing also on impacting other areas. And I was like, wow, like now a lot of things make sense. Like, so you explained it so well. Like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah. No, and this one is not from myself, but I was reading that lately. Nature is not sending you an invoice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If you realize that, and that's also what we are doing also within Circular Clarity now, also with another partner of one of our customers, is to try to help businesses to get the nature on their balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can quantify it, this is not easy, but if you can quantify nature on your balance sheet, you start making other decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
that's that
And
yeah,
nature.
that's an amazing point of view if you put it like that, which is something that most financial people don't sit down to even contemplate it or even bring it into the conversation. So it's really, really like being on the edge of asking people to like change the way that they look at that balance sheet, change the
Yeah,
way that they're looking at their overheads, change the way
yeah,
that they're considering how they're spending, where they're spending. I mean, it's really shaking them up. And again, to say that we want to invite the audience to come to the Regenera Travel Summit. You're going to meet people like Marco, meet people like Victoria. You're going to hear about how you can literally change or position your business to go into business for the future. This is something that we truly want because we believe that, the vision when Vienna came up with it and started inviting people, and it just it's really great. And I keep telling her I see it like it's like a master class. It's like a master class of a really great introduction into the world of regeneration and circular clarity now that the terminology is coming forward. And it's also a brilliant way to bring people to the table to talk about it. And we keep inviting in each one of our podcasts members of local government. So we're asking people out there if they have uncles or aunts or cousins or their husbands or wives or whomever is in local government establishments and want to be part of the conversation, to share our podcast with them, bring them into the talks with us. Victoria, would you like to add to what is living circular clarity like for you in your experience?
Yeah, I think Marco really summed it up really well, and I align quite well with exactly what he said. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is also kind of taking it on that educational side, is really bringing those examples to the forefront. So now, unfortunately, we were talking about the waste, for example, in a lot of places it's starting to be seen. Here in Europe, we're also starting to see issues where it's getting more dramatic with the weather. We're having more forest fires in the summertime. And unfortunately, we haven't, as a society, come to terms with it up until more recently when it's actually impacting our own lives. But I think because those examples are now being directly in our faces and it's hard to avoid them, having those as kind of a way to start that discussion, start that systems change. And I mean, the biggest thing is it does take years, right? Like systems change is not I do this today, tomorrow it'll be resolved, but really keeping those discussions going, finding those doors that you can open that maybe are cracked, and kind of working with those who might be interested to actually move things forward. And really also, like Marco said, sitting with that discomfort. I mean, one of the things is we do live in a more comfortable area. We don't have to struggle as much, but by sitting with it and understanding that discomfort, we could relate better and we can actually be inspired to do something.
Yeah, be empathetic. No, what John was talking also in the previous podcast, we were talking about being empathetic. Just because you're in a better place, it doesn't mean you're just gonna, not see if someone else is suffering, or if you can help someone else. And Caitlin was also talking about that. Like, the problem with our society, normal in the linear economy, is that everyone is selfish, everyone is like self-focused, and doesn't care. But with with a regenerative approach, you become more empathetic, you become more mindful, more conscious about, like Marco said, what impact am I having in nature, in the society? How can I be better every day? What can I do more? That's the regenerative approach. And also, for me, the best luxury of Honduras is the nature. That's what I always say. Like, for me, just being in the jungle, that's luxury for me. It's like I'm always in awe seeing the monkeys, the animals, and everything. I'm like, wow, I'm so blessed. Like, this is so beautiful. Like, it's a dream. Or going and diving and seeing all that beautiful, nature that is so different in the ocean, and all these animals, turtles, and all these colorful fishes. It's like, wow, it's like another world. Like, I cannot believe, like, this world is so, so beautiful. Creation is so wonderful, so amazing, and we don't value it, or we destroy it. So that's what we would like to also try to inspire people, no, to be more mindful, and be more circular, become circular, no, and not just destroy, but think of how we can reuse things, how we can regenerate things, restore nature, help communities. I think that maybe it's a discomfort, but at the end it fills you, like it makes you happy. Like, I've also had many challenges lately, but the truth is I've never been happier and feel more realized in my life than meeting with people like Marco, like Victoria, working with Susan, with John. Like, this really fills me with joy, and it makes me wake up every morning, with joy and with energy, and I want to do more, and I have more ideas. So this is like fuel for me. So I think, but this is also when I left this system, like Marco said, because I also went through a very bad burnout, and actually was hospitalized for 1 month in Amsterdam, and I was like dead. I felt dead. I was alive, but I felt dead. And then when I came back to Honduras and I started helping people, the community, and being in nature, it's like I just revived. It was like a rebirth for me, and it gave me a new purpose. And I said, I'm gonna stop focusing on me and start focusing on making this world better, you know? So yeah, that's my little story.
Yeah. And and I must say, in addition to this, when I met Vienna, I think now half a year ago, something like that, where you just reach out in a group in the Netherlands of investors or startups. Can somebody help me with some waste management strategies? That's how we met each other. And creating such thing takes time, but you lead by example because you just start doing the pickups, the with the local community, just clean the cleanups. So and you just do it, and understanding that creating a waste management strategy or even more what we are currently doing takes time, but you lead by example.
Oh,
And I think that is great to have somebody there to do that. Otherwise, we start talking with each other, but we don't do anything.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I say I would love to support that, and
oh,
create
thank you.
something
So kind.
which, yeah, will make you, the local community, but also something from our knowledge and experience to help creating something.
Yes. By the way, John is always supporting our cleanups too, and our regenerative tour. He always joins the regenerative travel. Now that he knows about it, I think he's becoming passionate about regenerative travel too, and helping communities and cleanup. So, John, can you talk a bit about your experience and uh, how you see regenerative travel, or how you see the shift or the future of travel in this sense?
Okay, thank you. Um, so as Bina said, I am new to the concept of regenerative tourism. So Vienna introduced me, taking me up to the beach cleanup activities, and now I am currently learning about it, while I help doing the graphical communications of the Regenera Travel. I will say it in Spanish, 2025, it's 2025. So my experience with this is kind of like meeting how a concept is applied between different cultures and communities or even tribes. So in internet, there is in the blockchain community, there is this concept about region, a region movement that it's a counterculture of the degen movement. So they define themselves like this, like the people interested in maximizing how much value they extract of a system are the degenerates, and the people who are interested in keeping the system going as a game that can be played on right now and the future, some of them identifies as regions. And there's also these concepts about communities. This concept, co-creating their experiences. So it's not like I have this idea and I come and apply it to you. And as Victoria said, um, you can create a big, beautiful experience, but it's very different than co-creating with the community. So aside from the feeling that if I am part of something I help to create, I feel it like it's mine. You can join up more views on the thing. And I think that's pretty awesome to encounter in tourism, all the other things, and more people interested in these kind of concepts, and I'm very thrilled about it.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Marco, Victoria, I wanted to direct a question to you guys based on your experience and the consultancy and the stuff you've been doing. Um, I kind of have like two action items in my mind. One, when Marco started, you said that you guys made a decision in your home to eat less meat. So it's like one decision that led, I imagine, would have impacted health and a whole lot of other things just by making that decision. And the country we're in Honduras, is a huge meat eating. Meat is like the number one thing that's on the table. So, it would be very uncomfortable. It would be a very discomforting sensation, to bring an idea like that to people at first. So and the other one was, oh my God, I had the two items in my mind. Eating less meat, and then, oh, the other idea slipped from me. But the idea was to ask you guys, like, could you suggest like action items that if someone wanted to take on a personal level? So we have the introspection and the personal awareness, but like actual actions that we can take within our home or our office that can be that starting point, like you said, Vienna starts the startup. She starts being an example. So she's doing that on the beaches and creating the events. But as an individual, if I'm not quite comfortable with getting into the society's face of it, how can I start in my space? What can I do in my space to start living that circular clarity? Come on, how can I start bringing that to my children? How can I start being that example at home? You know?
Wow,
So
very good question.
I have a good one with the meat. I've talked to Marco actually about this a lot. So I still eat meat, but I reduce my meat consumption to maximum one time a week. So I think that's
Okay.
one way to kind of start the discussion of you don't have to completely cut it out, but you can reduce it. Like you do not need to eat meat every day. Maybe have like beans and rice and maduros or something of that sort. But like take out the meat for this meal today and then, start with reducing rather than completely eliminating. And then maybe you'll feel comfortable to actually eliminate. Especially I know like in Latam area, it's really hard to also find alternatives. So I think that's one starting point. Another one, I think my journey when I was in the Peace Corps having to experience this issue with plastic everywhere and waste everywhere was trying to find ways in the house I could reduce my own waste consumption. So that was things like finding ways to utilize the food scraps as opposed to just chucking it out. So they can be complex or you can use them for other things like, for example, the rind of a watermelon, you can actually freeze and cut it up and reuse it to make like a salad, which I would never have thought about doing before. So there's tricks and things you can utilize old organic waste. So also, for example, coffee beans. If you keep the old coffee beans, you can make a mask out of it, like a face mask or a hand wash.
That's what
Um,
Yossi does. She gets like from the coffee and she makes beauty products.
yeah,
Margarita
exactly.
that is an
So
entrepreneur. Garifunas
yeah,
are very regenerative. Actually, she was saying about that last time. She was like, when Vienna said to me, and she was like, but my community already does that. They reuse everything. They get the trees, they use them as a abono, as to fertilize.
yeah.
They use the spoons. They're the coconut, the part of the coconut. They make a spoon.
Mhm.
They use everything from nature. So funny.
I find also because I had a recent discussion with some people in Ghana about this, where culturally a lot of places that are not kind of the Western European or North America, uses a lot of things already naturally. They just don't have a word for it per se.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing of awareness is it's not necessarily completely reinventing the wheel, but it's like you already use the spoon you already take a slab of the coconut and use it as a spoon. Just helping people understand that's already being sustainable, that's already moving towards regeneration, that's already going in the right direction. And then that awareness right there already helps them kind of understand, okay, I'm already making a move. Now these are the other things I can do, but I'm already starting somewhere as opposed to completely starting at zero.
Wow, Victoria, I think that ties into something that, that existence of that classification of first world, second or third world countries. And, somehow you think that if you have third world practices, that makes you lesser, or it creates this sensation of being lesser or not enough. And therefore, regenerative or circular clarity is literally saying, hey, let's look at the stuff you've been doing. I mean, this may refer to a financial statistic that has quantified or qualified countries and positioned them in something, but it does not impact the way that you've been living. Because I come from an island. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember being shocked when I first came over and they would be selling coconuts and you're looking for, I mean, it's just typical. You cut the coconut, you cut the spoons to the side and you're eating and scooping it out naturally. And then on Honduras, it's tierra firme and they have coconuts, but they would have like little spoons on the side and I was like, "Mm, you guys don't cut it from the coconut." So it's like you recognize that the exodus of people leaving the country in search of better opportunities
Mm-hmm.
really left like a lot of the wisdom was
Mm-hmm.
lost for the younger generations. Like they lost a lot of practices and stuff. So it's kind of like the when we spoke with the episode we recently released, and Josie was talking about the things that goes on in her community, we realize, wow, we have so much work to do in changing that perception that third world living is all bad.
Mm-hmm.
That negativity, that condescending concept that third world living, something's wrong with it. There are a lot of great practices. I remember having home gardens, getting tomatoes or sweet peppers from the yard. My mom would always have. You didn't have food, but you picked something from the tree. The moringa
Mm-hmm.
plant, everyone is like, wow, the moringa is such an amazing super plant. And my grandparents used to do, I hated to eat it. I hated, but my mom,
Me too.
she would pull the leaves and she would feed it to me. And I don't know, moms and their hands, it always tasted better from my mom. But I did learn to eat it. And I now realize, but wait a second, everyone's talking about this super plant, but it's been in our generations and people have been doing that. So why
Mm-hmm.
do they continue to make us feel like lesser citizens by calling us third world countries? You
Hmm.
know? So it's like, can circular clarity help us like toss that classification? Marco, I think you look like
Yeah, no, it's funny you say because I realized I met a guy, a Dutch guy last year. He lived with his family, with his children in Africa for many, many years. And he came back in the Netherlands now, I think about 2 years ago. And he literally said to me, I don't understand the Netherlands or the Western world about circularity because what is linear and what is circular? Everything what I did the last 20 years in Africa was what you call circular because we used everything. So he
yeah,
didn't understand when we are talking about linear and circular in, let's say, a Western world. He just didn't
yeah.
understand. And the funny thing is, he is now a lecturer at one of the high schools in the Netherlands around circularity. He said, I'm fine, I will be get paid for this job, but I still don't understand what linear and circular is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is literally what you are saying also, Suzanne.
It's the
Um,
systemized way of
yeah,
how certain kinds of education have made us
yep,
feel. And
yep.
when we
Mm-hmm.
don't travel, we don't get to cross cultural. So I get Victoria's traveling and to different cultures. Vienna also has traveled extensively. In the book of The World of Sophia, the author says in it, he says, if everyone would learn a foreign language, there would be no war in the world. because there would be this level of understanding of different perspectives coming from different places. And I remember when we
More
moved to
empathy.
Honduras, people thought of, a lot of people were exiting. They were fleeing certain kinds of gang violence. There were a lot of
The
reasons that different
exodus,
people, yeah, the exodus
literally.
was happening. But doors kept opening for my husband and I to stay and to work. And we thought of finding a neutral country, but it just never happened. Honduras became that country for us. And he's Honduran, and we worked. And I would listen to the different kinds of things that were happening. And I was thinking, there are a lot of benefits to living. I mean, we were able to buy and invest in property. We were able to plant. We have fruit trees. I have two avocado trees in my yard, just waiting for the avocados to come forth. We have soursops or guanabanas that they call them here, and fruits and flowers and trees. And these are all part of, like, after listening to you guys and the terminology and the reawakening, it's like a return to traditional wisdom. It's like coming back to what indigenous cultures have been practicing all their
Yeah.
lives.
And the thing is, Suzanne, you're creating a lot of value. And the problem in the, let's say, the Western world is everything is financially based. So we need to make money.
Wow.
Value, creating value, if you monetize creating value, that will be a different game or different level. So coming back to your question around
Action items.
action items, yeah. So fundamentally, it is important to understand that if you want to change, you don't do that overnight. So when I was still in business, I did a lot of change management processes in businesses. And that is a certain way of working. And it takes time. You have to invest in people, you have to educate, you have to standardize things, etc., etc. If I'm now talking about change in behavior and change towards a more circular, a more sustainable, a more regenerative society, you do that in what I call transitions. There are all steps in the change towards something. And personally, the change, let's say at home with my children, they were inspiring me. And change, you cannot do that alone. You need people around you to make that happen.
Yes.
And that's why an ecosystem or a community is of vital importance.
Yeah, that's
Otherwise,
very
you
important.
especially in, let's say, the I would say the normal world, where you're exposed through I would say the marketing and the social media and that kind of things, it will influence, let's say, that uh, not always positively. So and I think that is, let's say, where we are at this moment in that phase, and that's not easy. But we have to do it for me because my children, I would like to leave our earth in a better shape for my children, but also for that generation. So yeah, change is a key thing, and that's why we built that ecosystem with people around us, and and like we do a lot of research ourselves, and Victoria is of big help for us because she is researching a lot for us, also with her background, and also because of female empowerment and that kind of things. It's so important to have that on board and to make that happen.
Yes. Wow. Like this connects exactly to what I am sharing here on the screen. It's
Mhm.
this is like a ruler, like a measurement line that John did because, well, I think he will explain it better, but I loved it because it's a very visual way, what you were saying, that it has to be step by step. because people think sometimes regeneration or regenerative is different to sustainable, but it's not. It just goes a step further. It's like, but in order to be regenerative, first, at least you have to be sustainable, no? So you can always be better. You have to compete with yourself and see how you can improve every day. But just because you are at another side of the line right now, you don't have to feel bad. If someone is no further, you have to see how you can get that further, no? How you can improve and go more towards regeneration every day. But well, I would like John to explain how he came up with these with this like measurement, no? And you're yeah, that he can explain it better.
In our first meeting with some people involved in the tourism industry, um, I didn't really know what regenerative tourism was about, so neither didn't. So we started to investigate, and I came up with this metric. So it makes it so it can become a tool for people to make it easy to understand how their activities create an impact in their touristic destiny. Evaluating, so you have this idea that Marcus said about the about how you have to create value, and this is how it is based. So it's a work in progress. It will get better in time. So what you extract, what you sustain, and what you regenerate, um, it's value, and this creates an impact on the destiny. So the tool started working with the people that were involved in the tourism industry, and it was pretty awesome. So once you have these concepts about an activity that extracts value from the destiny, an activity that keeps the destiny as it is, and an activity that makes the destiny um, not
Yeah,
necessarily like better, but it changes into something more,
it improves.
just like the beach cleanups. So maybe I'm not sure right now if that could be the word, but it could be. It could be. But um, the thing is that the people that were involved in the tourism industry started. It opened a conversation, and it opened the opportunity for them to locate where they were at. So so the guy started, hey, I am doing this in my touristic operation. And it's kind of in the extraction way of doing things. And I'm doing this other thing that is here. And this one is sustainable. And there were two persons, and they started a conversation about how their activities were impacting the destiny and the value they were creating. So I'm very happy how it turned out because I'm a graphical communicator. So I'm very happy how the tool turned out to be, right? Um, I, and now that I'm seeing here, I am really more inclined to see how we can add the word value to it, because it is the extraction of value, the sustainability of value, and the regeneration of value. It might go, it might be there. So that's my take on my perspective on this tool.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Guys, I have a question. What would,
Yeah,
you know,
thanks
like we're
for giving me the
talking
space.
about regenerative tourism and stuff like that, and we've been talking about like different, what would circular clarity look like in a banking system or in the financial world? What would that look like? I mean, I know that's a very big, a very wide question, but like, what would, because that's kind of the hard part. I mean, it's the money part. It's discussing the money, it's discussing the finances. I work with CSW, which is the Commission on the Status of Women, with the
Mhm.
Friends Organization, and we go and they want to do things for women. And they recently talked about the Beijing declaration that was done, and it was being it was represented again after 30 years. And still, money continues to be one of the biggest headaches when it comes to funding, getting these things off the ground, adjusting lean managements, adjusting who can do more with less. That's a constant. But then that's where the burnout comes with activists, or the burnout comes with people who are trying to do things. So we recently, in the podcast that we recently posted, we were discussing with Josie in the Garifuna community, which is along the coast, that they had issues to make payments, and they wanted to make payments, but there was no internet, and there was nothing that can allow them. So they had to leave John in place, and then they went to find an ATM machine in a city outside, then return to make the payment. Now, some people would do that commitment, others won't. So we were kind of joking about why don't banks think that if they are along the coast, that, or they provide the internet for the people so that they have accessibility, they could actually get people making sales or purchase, or it would stimulate economy. But I don't know. This is where I ask you guys, since you work in this kind of consulting, what would circular clarity look like um, in a financial setting?
So Marco, I can touch a little bit on this because
Please.
weirdly enough, I've done a project, not circular clarity focused, but a project talking about sustainability, circularity in the finance sector. And it still remains a very complicated sector, especially because mainstream financial institutions are still very stuck in the return on investment as the top priority. But I think the thing is, there are small like financial mechanisms and smaller like entities that are actually trying to change. Unfortunately, they're very place-based and very contextual to the areas. So like I know from a project I've worked on, like things like in Sheffield and Fargo Island in Canada and Sheffield in the UK, they have like a very place-based focus. And so the banks, like the local bank, actually is investing in regeneration within those cities because it's a huge community that's basically backed it. And because it is a local bank, they are willing to back it because they also are part of the community. So I think the first is always like trying to find banks that are as local as possible. So really, as which I think in Latam is a lot harder to find. I think in other places it's a bit more easier. But if there are those local banks or even regional banks, trying to work with them and discuss with them on ways to kind of fix those problems and start that open discussion. And I think finding examples of cases that have happened, like I said, Sheffield or Fargo, those are ways to also discuss, to kind of see what they've done to maybe take it and take the tools and create similar in Honduras. Something also that's quite interesting that I've seen, but I think this would take a little bit more of a push and a lot more community backing, is there's actually some places that have their own local currency. So I know in Bristol they have it. I don't know if it's still there, but before COVID, at least it was a thing where you could basically go to a bank, take the Bristol currency, and then they replace it like around the shops. They were like, we take local currency, and it actually was helping to stimulate the economy locally.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there are certain tools out there, but they're still very small, and they're still very place based.
Yeah.
Marco, did you want to add something?
Yeah, it's the same in the Netherlands. So there are several cities who have a circular coin. It's similar as what Victoria says, and basically it avoids that money is flowing out of the system or out of your community. Let me put it that way,
Yeah.
towards, let's say, shareholders and let's say the big boys.
Mhm.
So the principle of a circular coin is to keep the value within a community or in a city, and it's actually a monetary system. It's also approved by the bank system in the Netherlands. It is working in several cities, uh, to a certain extent pretty good, but you can only pay with those shops or companies who are part of that circular coin system. So it is for me, an opportunity to create, or to change that, to make that system change. Sometimes we say in circular clarity, we put a system next to a system. And so it is a possibility. But coming back, so that is one thing on circular clarity and let's say the financial system. Coming back on your question, Suzanne, with my background, I'm coming from the industry. So my background is engineering, is production. So I have a degree in Lean Six Sigma, had to optimize processes in businesses. And when I was starting with circular clarity, I was thinking, everything what I've learned over what is it, 10, 20 years, I can I cannot throw that away because maybe I can use that for the better. So I start researching and studying, are there any examples of what I've learned and what I did to use it to become more sustainable or more circular? In that time, I'm talking about 5 years ago, there was not so much research information. So with the information I had and with my own knowledge and but also drive to create something, I created a sustainable excellence model, which is based on several principles we have around circularity, um, to so that businesses can adopt that instead of what they call the operational excellence system, which is basically only making more money with less people, is now to think radically different in all your departments and all your value streams and in a different way to create actually more value in your own functional area to, at the end, if you talk about circular, less waste or zero waste to the bin or to and this is a complex thing, to be honest. And
Yeah,
if I show you,
I can see that because if you want to
yeah,
try and
I
implement
can.
it, every
yeah,
aspect of it. Because I worked for years in the maquila industry as
then
an
you know it.
educator, but
Yeah,
within it, there's a huge, I would say there's an amazing generation of 50 somethings and 60 somethings who've been educated in the Lean Six Sigma. They have the knowledge and experience that you're talking about, but I
yeah,
guess no one has oriented them on the kinds of business ways or the way it can be implemented on the ground. But I think that there's a doorway open to like talking to these people and helping
absolutely.
them figure out how they can look at that within their processes. Because I know a lot of managers and their processes. It's
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
yeah.
Anna, you were going to
And
say something, sweetie?
Yes, and right now that you were explaining that and you said about bringing value, and I related, for example, to what Nikki does with Social in Guatemala in Guatemala. Nikki's an NGO, but she's a luxury tour operator in Guatemala. And she loves animals and she loves children. So she does everything with her heart, no? And she started she came to for some holidays to Guatemala, and she was going through a divorce, and she met some indigenous children that were orphans because their parents have died on a landline, and they didn't have shoes. They were living in very bad conditions in a Mayan village, And she fell in love with the children. And when she went back, she started to get donations to send to the community, and to try to help the children and give them a better quality of life. And then she ended up, to make the story short, she ended up moving to Guatemala because she just fell in love with the country, with the people, and with the nature. And she started her NGO there, and as a tour operator, and she had connections with the US, like big corporations, National Geographic and Cisco and all these big companies. And she started rescuing the horses from the street, stray horses, because she loves animals. She also rescues cats, dogs, sterilizes them, and all types of stray animals. And she even founded a horse hospital for these stray horses. And she created a product, a luxury horse tour, Guatemala, which costs like $700 per person for 4 hours to go to the Pacaya volcano. And this is quite expensive normally for a tour, no? Like not anyone can pay it. It's more like for luxury travel. And but she invests a lot in the Mayan community. So she also did like a social entrepreneurship program with the Mayan people to teach them English, to train them as guides and everything, so that they can give the tours. No, so when I have sold this trip to travelers, they love it because they say, wow, now I know what Belu travel is. The horse was rescued. The guide was Maya. He said that he was super happy with his job. He said that this job brought food to his family of 10 people in the village, and that Nikki has helped the village a lot, and it has improved. Like she recently also inaugurated like a children's center for these Mayan children. And now they have like clean showers, they have water, like how do you say, like water that they can
Drinkable water.
drinkable water. They have a place where they can receive classes. And yeah, she's always like investing, no, in the people, in the community, in the destinations. In the packages, we include like philanthropic visits to the village, and sometimes we take like school supplies for the children, or we take them something, no, something that they need and that will help them be better, or will improve, no? So this community has prospered a lot, and they love Nikki, no? And what you say of creating value, so she has done more than $20 million in the last 7 years with this type of creating value through tourism, no? So if you really do it well, people are willing, no, to also support this or to invest, because sometimes she says that she has clients that are like very philanthropic, and they are so like moved and impressed with what she's doing and feel so good with the tours and everything, that they go back and they say, oh, I'm going to send you a donation of $10,000 or $15,000 for this and for the school, no, for the center, because they see how she's, helping, like impacting in a positive way the community, the nature, the animals. So people get moved, and they want to support this, no? So I think that is connected to what Marco was saying about it's not just about, earning money. It's also about creating value, investing, and seeing how I support the local people, the destination, no? So it's very good. Thank you, Marco, for your for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you, guys. I think I have more questions. I think this particular meeting has just opened up my brain. I have more questions, but I feel like if I do that, we're definitely going to run into a part 1, part 2 series of what this podcast would look like, because I'm listening to the story of Nikki and I'm thinking, is this a unicorn or what happens like when you want to have multiple businesses like this side by side? Then again, you enter into competition and all these other details. Like Marco said, it's really complex if we
Mhm.
want to start talking about it and looking at how it can function. But I'm really been impressed by what we talked about and coming back to that element of how we can rescue normal practices within the countries that we're at that have been practices that perhaps looking at it through a third world country lens, we have undervalued what we're actually living and what we're actually doing. So I think, as a part of our travel summit, getting people to look back and take stock of what we do and I love what John said about adding value to it for people to really look at the true value of how they're living, like that personal internal audit, so that we can make more informed decisions. I mean, the whole idea of the summit, Vienna said it from the very beginning, is to educate, to inspire, and to connect and bring this to more people. And we know the challenges that are involved. Definitely, I would love to sit down and continue. So I'm just going to invite everyone to add their final comments or call to action on what it is you're doing to the audience who's listening to us before we close and say thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and what you've done. It's really, I feel invigorated. I feel energized. And I guess I would also say there's a certain amount of validation. For something I think that has bothered me for a long time about being in the part of the world that's considered third world and looking at it from perspective and thinking, I know why that's always been uneasy and why I didn't really accept all of what that is. Buying into concepts and being able to challenge it from a proactive place and using knowledge and experience to make differences. So I'd like to invite everyone to share closing words or call to action and then we close up. Victoria, I don't know if you'd like to start.
Yeah, I'll start. I would say just kind of my closing word is it can start small. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but if you want to dive into the world of circularity, sustainability, just from that internal intrinsic motivation, find something very small. It could be, like I said, cutting out a little bit of meat. It could be trying to reduce your plastic or going back to more traditional methods, just something small that can build up from there into something greater.
Thank you.
Great advice. Yeah.
Marco?
Yeah, thanks first of all for this talk. I think for us or for me, it's also always inspiring and giving energy to have this kind of talks with each other. Um, yeah, what I would like to say, my last words is that whatever you do, is take humans as a human. And what I mean with that is I will not and I will never differentiate in anything between people. And for us, also in our work, people, humans are all equal and we treat them all the same in everything what we do. And they are so damn important in businesses to make a circular future happening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
John?
Um, I'm going to cheat with this one because it's a call to action to end the podcast. But I am very curious, and it might serve as a call to action to ask Marco, because you talked about how important it is to create safe environments so businesses and people feel safe to take their risks. So, so for a business to take risks is something very important. How do you go about it in the mechanic? what could be a call to action to this for the people involved, so they can. So how can they go about to creating these spaces or tackling the risk, to talk about the risks?
And back to you, Marco.
Yeah, again, as what I just said, is human work. So to create that safe environment is human work. It's getting connection with each other, is to create common ground with each other. And from that common ground, you are able to give everybody, the room, the space in all what they are doing, including risks and uncertainties, is to bring that to the table and uh, take all that uncertainties and risks towards that more circular future. You have to address them, you have to mitigate them. Once you understand how to think and what is possible with your business models or whatever.
Very good. And that's exactly what we're trying to
Thank
do
you.
with Regenera Travel. It's not just a summit, it's a project that is long term. It's just a start, but we're trying to build a community of practice and connecting amazing people like Marco, like Victoria, John, Susan, that really are adding value, actually, adding value to this ecosystem, to this new movement, no? And that are like triggering a positive change to impact on the world in a positive way, to make it better. So I really thank you guys for being part of this. I thank you for all your support. I feel really blessed. I thank God for your lives and for having you here, because you're a gift from Him to me. And I love working with all of you. I learn every day from all of you, like every day I'm working, and that really gives me feel, like I was saying, to keep going, helps me go, like you help me also overcome all the challenges I face. And also, I would like to invite everyone to follow us on our social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now we also have a Substack. So if you want to subscribe to our Substack, you're welcome to subscribe. We also share our podcast on YouTube and Spotify. So I hope you join this community, and that you can also learn and also feel better, because it's not just that you're gonna help others, but you're gonna help yourself. It's gonna be the transformation will start in us. No, it starts in us. That's what we have actually touched on both podcasts today. Everything starts inside, no, and then we can help outside. Amazing.
Well,
Susan, your
thank
last
you.
words?
Well, thank you. Like I said, I think my word for ending is invigorated, really and truly. Victoria, Marco, thank you very much for joining us here from the Netherlands or in Honduras. And to anyone else who's able to listen to this podcast, go visit Regenera on September 27th. We will be launching our summit, and you will meet amazing people like Marco, Victoria. We have more people coming in. We have keynotes. I mean, it's really going to be an amazing immersion online of, I won't say new, but a new perspective perhaps on stuff that you know. But sometimes you need to look at the same thing from a different angle in order to really appreciate it. So I welcome you as part of the Regenera team to come join, sign up, and we look forward to seeing you on our online summit. So thank you very much to everyone. I get to say bye. And that's it for now.